Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Coffee Time. This week, the question was, what's something you thought you wanted, but learned more about by actually trying it? This one's a little vulnerable, but it's not just from my experience. It is from my experience. For me, it's the idea of from death to us part. And I'll explain because I'm married, I love my wife, and everything is cool. But what I don't want anymore, and I've known this for some time, is to know that no matter what I do, or no matter how badly I could treat my partner, that she's going to stay, or for her to have that also. And I'll explain a little more because that's abusive and it's traumatic. And there's an idea of death to self where you say, hey, we've said our vows and we're here, and the other person is just going to have to stay with us no matter what we do. And I do believe in dying to self in a sense. I believe in sacrifice. I believe in supporting my partner. And I believe in people supporting their partners. I believe in it for myself and for the people that I work with and my friends. But what I don't believe is that a person has to stay even though the relationship is horrible or the other person isn't trying. That's not about me or my partner. Everything's great. If you know me, you know that that's not the issue. It's more along the lines of it's an idea that eventually I realized that didn't make any sense. And I don't think that religious leaders and elders and parents purposely are giving that impression, but it certainly seems like the impression that people are led to that, hey, well, I said my vows. But I think, especially for women, and this is statistically true, for women, statistically, there is a lot of harm that is done to them because the people that they're with, especially when they're men, are not held accountable for their actions in their relationship. And that is not something that I support. It's not something that I want for myself. And we make contracts with the sane person that we're making the contract with. There's always a breach of contract for if that person is no longer upholding their end of the contract, or if that person is doing things that are threatening the life of the other person. There's no business where you're stuck in business with someone who's trying to murder you. You're released from that. And marriage is one of those things. I don't know what else there is that I feel that strongly about that is a flip for me, because I really was a super romantic person at certain points in my life where I was willing to do anything to keep my relationship going because I believed in marriage on that level. And I would have supported people who were trying to do that. And I know for sure I've come out of that idea of relationships. I'm very much in support of healthy relationships, and that can look like a lot of hard times. There are hard times that people can come back from if both people are willing to work on the relationship. That's the key to what I'm saying. But being willing to work on the relationship is not enough to make another person stay because you've been abusing them. And while we're on the topic of abuse, abuse is not just physical abuse. Abuse, when we look at the definitions for child abuse, seems more clear for people than adult abuse, but there's the physical aspect, there's the mental aspect, there's also neglect. So if a person is in a relationship and they are completely willing to neglect the relationship, that's abuse. So for me, if there's abuse in a relationship, you are free to go, in my opinion. Now, I know a lot of people would disagree with me and would say you got to work on it, you got to give the person another chance. And I'm going to use this chance to talk a little bit about the differences between forgiveness, reconciliation, and reinstatement. And forgiveness, in my opinion, in my understanding, is something that you can do all on your own. So when a person has wronged you, and the term comes from, if you think about it, owing money. I worked in collections for 3 years, and the term forgiveness means, in that context, well, you owe something and you paying it off. Usually there's also interest. But sometimes the person just can't pay what they owe. So in that case, the person who is owed forgives. They say, well, I know that they owe me $10,000, but I'm not going to seek that $10,000. I'm going to wipe the books clean. Now, in that example, you can wipe the books clean. If somebody wrongs you and the court rules that they owe you $10,000 because, they work for you and they stole $10,000, and you look at them and you say, well, you owe me $10,000, and you do realize there's no way that person can pay. You can forgive them. You can say, you know what? I'm not going to come after the $10,000. Then we get into the idea of reconciliation and reinstatement. If that person makes efforts, you can be reconciled to them. That's reconciliation. If that person is saying, I'm sorry, and I'm going to pay you $100 a week until I pay off this $10,000, even though you say you forgave me, it's the right thing to do. I'm going to pay this off. You might say, you know what? I'm glad you're doing this. And this is really going a long way to reconcile us. And at that point, the person who's forgiven them might say, but I already forgave you. Now, if the person keeps delivering the $100, that's great. But for the person who forgave them, there's no ledger. They're not waiting for them to get back up to the point where they've gotten their $10,000 plus the interest back. They're clear, right? And the last one is reinstatement. Reinstatement means that you would hire this person again to an equal position of trust. Now, for a lot of people, they don't consider that. What you're asking people to do when you say forgive, a lot of the times you mean reconcile or reinstate the trust that this person has broken. And I like the term trust being earned and broken because it gives the idea of something that you're tethered to, that's something that connects you. It's something strong that you can trust. And when somebody breaks that trust, then it's gone. And you could rebuild it over time. And yes, you might get to the point where you say, you know what, I would hire you again. You have shown over years of paying off this money that you are a person that is trustworthy. You've been faithful in making these payments. Maybe you would hire them again. You might not put them in the position to be able to steal the money, right? That's the same for relationships. And I know this is a way around to get to why I don't believe that a person should have to live through that. So, yeah, that's the thing for me. What's something you thought you wanted but learn more about by actually trying it and now don't agree with? I have tried that. I have tried it myself in many relationships. Unfortunately, I've lived through the pain of being through that, and I've supported people who've gone through that. And so it's my lived experience and the lived experience of many people. And this isn't a new belief for me, but that's what I thought of. I'd love to know what you thought of that as well. Feel free to join the conversation on my school, and take care.